What's going on, everybody? And I hope you're enjoying your early Sunday afternoon so far. This is NYG Jeffy T85 here, and I'm going to talk about one of the more unsung heroes, unsung players throughout the NBA season for the Brooklyn Nets since they acquired him in an NBA trade this past offseason. And that, of course, is the 29-year-old 6'6 forward for the Brooklyn Nets, and that, of course, is Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal was specifically brought onto this team for a couple of specific reasons. When the Brooklyn Nets acquired him for a first-round pick from the UtahJazz. And that it was specifically to come onto this organization and provide this team with excellent 3 and D. He was going to be coming in as a guy that can knock down three-point shots from the outside occasionally, and also be a solid wing defender when the Brooklyn Nets needed him to be that guy to lock down one of the top shooters or one of the top players offensively on the opposing team. And for the most part, Royce O'Neal has done exactly that. O'Neal is having himself a pretty solid year this year for the Brooklyn Nets. Not a starter by any means. I mean, he's actually playing a lot of minutes this year. He's playing about 33 minutes per game. He was a starter at the beginning of the season. He's been put onto the bench recently, but it doesn't mean his minutes have been cut down at all. So far, he's played in 63 games during this NBA season, Royce O'Neal has. He's shooting about 39% from the field. He's shooting about 39% from the three-point line, which is excellent for him. He's right now averaging about 9 points per game. He's averaging a block and a steal per game. Also around 4 assists and averaging about 5 rebounds off the bench for the Brooklyn Nets. And he's shooting about 73% from the free throw line. This is what you asked for from a quality player that you brought into this lineup. And also the fact it makes it even more impressive, especially the way he played in that last game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Where they needed him to step up in a big way. And Royce O'Neal did exactly that. He was able to go out there and give this team effective minutes when he was called upon. He's pretty much become the number one guy coming off the bench for the Brooklyn Nets now. He is essentially their sixth man. Now, he's had moments where he's been very up and down and erratic shooting. Absolutely. Where Royce O'Neal has been on the court and he's not exactly had the greatest of shooting days and he's struggled at times defensively. But for the most part, when the Nets need a quality player consistently coming off the bench or to give them consistent three-point shooting or to be able to make a difference on the defensive end of the court all season long, Royce O'Neal has been that guy for the most part. That's what the Brooklyn Nets have been asking Royce O'Neal to do, is pretty much be a guy that can lock out the outside and also be a guy that when he's open to be able to go out there and knock down the three-point shot when the Brooklyn Nets need him to do that. And in terms of his contract going forward for the Brooklyn Nets, right now Royce O'Neal, he signed a 4-year, $36 million deal with the UtahJazz back in last year. And right now, he has a partially guaranteed contract for 2023 and 2024, and he's scheduled to be an unrestricted free agent in 2024 and his age 31 season. He's making right now $9,200,000 with the Brooklyn Nets, and he's got a cap hit of that. And next year, his salary is going to boost up another $300,000 to $9,500,000 for the Brooklyn Nets in 2023-2024. So he's at least going to be part of the organization unless the Nets decide to trade him if they think his value is high enough. But it looks like that right now, O'Neal is going to be part of the mix with the Brooklyn Nets going into next season. And he's one of those quality players the Brooklyn Nets could look to help build around going into the 2023-24 season. For a guy that you're not asking, especially now and even throughout the entire season, to be the number 1 or number 2 offensive player, he's had moments where he's really stepped his game up for this Brooklyn Nets team. For a team that has been lacking a lot in defense and consistency, Royce O'Neal, for the most part, has done a solid job for the Brooklyn Nets. Not been spectacular, but at times he hasn't needed to be spectacular. Like I mentioned, in that last game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, he really stepped up and did the job when the Brooklyn Nets needed him to, off the bench. This guy is your prototypical perfect 3-and-D player for a team that is looking to win. And that's exactly why he was brought in originally by the Brooklyn Nets, is to be a 3-and-D player that can knock down the three-point shot on the outside on a consistent basis. And he's done it. I mean, he's shooting about 40% from the three-point line. You can't ask for anything better than that. Could he play a little bit better? Yes. Can he be more consistent for the Brooklyn Nets? Absolutely. But at the same time, you're not expecting this guy to go out there and score 20 points per game on a game in and game out basis. This guy has done the job when he has been asked to for this Brooklyn Nets team. And I really love the contributions that Royce O'Neal is bringing to this basketball team. And he's going to be a key player for the stretch run of this NBA season. Again, continuing tonight against the Denver Nuggets. You're going to need Royce O'Neal to go out there and continue to play the type of offense and defense that he's been playing for this team. I expect O'Neal to be every single game for the rest of the season. I expect Royce O'Neal to be the first guy coming out there on the court and being that sixth man for the Nets, guarding against one of, if not the best perimeter players on the outside. And he's not the only. You have other guys on this team that are terrific defensive players too. Dorian Finney-Smith, Nicholas Claxton, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Spencer Dinwiddie. You have other good defensive players on this basketball team. And O'Neal just fits into the type of... O'Neal's skill set, in a way, fits in more with the mold of talent the Brooklyn Nets have compared to what they had before, where they weren't as strong of a defensive team. Where they were more offensively built, compared to now, where they're more of a defensive squad with some players that are starting to boost up their offensive game going forward. But he's going to be a key player for the rest of the season for this Brooklyn Nets team. He's going to be a guy that you're going to ask to be able to continue to go out there and provide the type of three-point shooting, scoring off the bench, and, of course, elite-level defense on the outside that the Brooklyn Nets are asking the 29-year-old. And I'm really curious to see how much Royce O'Neal's role is going to expand the closer we get to the playoffs. He's going to play his minutes. And depending on how the Nets play or the opponent they play against, he might be a guy that actually could get starters minutes. The Nets have gone small a couple of these games where they've had Royce O'Neal in and they've had guys like Dorian Finney-Smith as their center. Or they've even gone even smaller than that where they've had Cam Johnson as their center at some points in these basketball games. When the Nets have had Seth Curry and Royce O'Neal in there with Bridges, Dinwiddie, and Johnson. So I'm really curious to see what Royce O'Neal is going to do for the rest of this NBA season, but I'm expecting him to have a major role with this basketball team nonetheless. Because he is an important cog of this team. He's been a good player for this team all season long. Not great, but good. And I expect him to continue that going into the rest of this NBA season and beyond. He's a quality player, three-point shooter, outside shooter, driving to the basket. He occasionally could draw some fouls, decent free throw shooter, and he's a guy that could do it all. He can rebound at a solid rate. He can have a decent amount of assists, steal and block per game. The kind of quality player you ask for on your basketball team. And I'm really, really, really happy Royce O'Neal is on this basketball team. I really am. Because you need quality players like him. But you guys let me know in the comment section what you think about Royce O'Neal, his season that he's had so far this year for the Brooklyn Nets. If you think he's done a very good job, if you think he's maybe needs to do a little bit better. his outlook for the rest of the season and going into the playoffs. And as always, hit that like button if you haven't already. Give us up to NYG Jeffy T85. More news updates and chatter surrounding the Brooklyn Nets. Turn on that bell for notifications on the next video or short dropping on the channel surrounding the Brooklyn Nets. And you guys let me know in the comment section what you think about Royce O'Neal's season so far for the Brooklyn Nets this year. If it's warranted for him having, if it's warranted the praise that he should get. If he's been a solid contributor, and if you think he's going to be another key player for this Brooklyn Nets team for the rest of this NBA season and heading into the playoffs in the beginning of April. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Take it easy, and let's go, Brooklyn Nets. As always, it's a Nets world, and we are all just living in it.